In the quiet sprawl of Woodberry Meadows Trailer Park, where the copper sun pierced heavy clouds, Daniel Carter crouched beside an old Ford pickup, his calloused hands coaxing life back into its worn alternator. At 42, with a spine curved from years of labor and a faded work shirt bearing the barely legible name Dan, he was the unsung hero of this modest community. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the morning chill, his deep hazel eyes etched with a weariness that went beyond the physical. The truck belonged to Mrs. Ellison, a 78-year-old widow who paid him with casseroles more often than cash. "Almost there, Mrs. Ellison," Daniel called, his voice a low rumble. "Should start right up." From her porch, clutching a thermos of coffee, she smiled. "You're a blessing, Dan. Don't know what I'd do without you." He tightened the final bolt, closed the hood with care, and slid into the driver's seat. The engine purred on the first try, and Mrs. Ellison clapped, pressing a $20 bill into his palm. "That's too much," Daniel protested, but she waved him off. "Nonsense. Carl Jensen would have charged me triple at his shop." Daniel pocketed the money reluctantly. It wouldn't cover the $50 registration fee for his daughter Sophie's science competition, but it would keep gas in his battered truck for a week. As he gathered his tools, his phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. "Dad, don't forget the science comp fee by tomorrow. $50. Sorry." His jaw tightened. Another expense he hadn't planned for, but Sophie's competitions were non-negotiable. Her ticket to a future beyond the trailer park, a promise he'd made to his late wife, Emily. "Everything okay?" Mrs. Ellison asked, noticing his expression. "Fine," Daniel managed, forcing a smile. "Just fine." The walk to his trailer on Maple Lane took 5 minutes, past neat rows of mobile homes and cracked asphalt. His home, at the end of the row, stood out for Sophie's small vegetable garden and the tarp-covered workshop he'd rigged beside it. Inside, the trailer was spotless but worn, a wall of photos chronicling a lost life. Daniel in a graduation gown, in a lab coat beside a prototype engine, with Emily on their wedding day and cradling baby Sophie. The kitchen table held bills marked "Final Notice," a rent increase letter, and job applications. He swept them into a drawer, checked the time 2:30 p.m. and rummaged through the fridge. Sophie would be home soon, and he needed another repair job to make ends meet. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Javier Morales, his neighbor, stood outside, worry creasing his face. "Dan, Tom Bradley's making rounds again. Says he'll evict anyone 2 months behind next week." Daniel's stomach twisted. "Thanks, Javier. I'm 6 weeks behind, but I've got jobs lined up. Should cover half by Friday." Javier offered to spot him from overtime pay, but Daniel declined firmly. "We'll manage." After Javier left, Daniel made calls, striking out until a farmer needed a tractor fixed. The pay would barely cover Sophie's fee, but it was something. As he packed his tools, the school bus rumbled to a stop. Sophie, 16, bounded up the steps, her ponytail bouncing, eyes bright despite faint shadows beneath them. "Dad, Mrs. Harper says my fuel efficiency project could win state finals. There's a scholarship for Brighton University's engineering program." Daniel's face softened. Sophie had endured so much losing Emily at 8, moving from a suburban home to this trailer, yet her spirit never broke. "That's amazing, sweetheart," he said. "Don't worry about the fee. It's covered." Sophie frowned. "You didn't take another loan, did you?" He shook his head. "Fixed Mrs. Ellison's truck, and I'm heading to the Larson farm after dinner." They ate spaghetti with ration sauce, Sophie taking a small portion to stretch their supplies. Daniel noticed, shame gnawing at him. "How was school?" he asked, shifting focus. Sophie shrugged. "Same. Ethan Walsh called me trailer trash again." Ignored him. Daniel's grip tightened on his fork. "He's still bothering you?" "It's nothing, Dad. His family owns half the town. He thinks he's untouchable." She changed the subject. "Any replies from the engineering firms?" Daniel's chest ached. He'd sent dozens of applications, all rejected for his decade-long absence from the field. "Not yet," he lied. "Takes time." After dinner, he headed to the Larson farm alone, urging Sophie to work on her project. Driving past Woodberry's welcome sign, he spotted a sleek silver vehicle on the roadside, a high-end electric hybrid, hazard lights flashing. A young woman in designer clothes stood beside it, phone in hand, frustration evident. Daniel almost drove one who was late, and people with cars like that had premium roadside assistance, but Emily's voice echoed in his mind, urging kindness. He pulled over. Having trouble? He asked, rolling down his window. The woman, mid-20s with auburn hair and a sleek bun, looked up, relieved. Yes, it just died. Mechanics can't come until morning, and I've got a meeting in Brighton Heights. Mind if I take a look? I'm a mechanic, sort of. She hesitated, eyeing his faded shirt and ancient truck, then nodded. I'm Claire Bennett. Please, any help would be great. Daniel introduced himself, grabbing his tools. The car was a Bennett Synergy, a rare prototype hybrid. These aren't even in full production, he noted, popping the hood. Claire raised an eyebrow. It's a test model. My mother's company makes them. The name clicked. Bennett Innovations, a titan in automotive tech. Daniel had applied there, only to get a form rejection. The engine was a maze of custom components, but Daniel felt a spark of excitement, like in his old lab days. Your power management module's stressed, he said, tracing connections. The thermal regulator's connection is flawed, creating heat during power transitions. Claire blinked. How could you know that? I'd have designed it differently, he replied, already at work. For 45 minutes, under a darkening sky, Daniel rerouted the electrical system and adjusted the regulator, Claire assisting with her phone's flashlight. Try it now, he said, wiping his hands. The engine hummed, smoother than before. It's better than new, Claire marveled. Sounds like it gained horsepower. Daniel shrugged. Improved efficiency by about 15%. Claire stared. Who are you? No small-town mechanic could do this. Uncomfortable, Daniel packed his tools. Just good with engines. How much do I owe you? Nothing. Glad to help. Claire pressed a business card into his hand. My mother's always looking for engineers. Call me tomorrow. I want to know more about that flaw. Daniel pocketed the card, skeptical. Promises from people like Claire often faded once they left Woodberry. Drive safe, he said, climbing into his truck. The tractor job was gone. The farmer had called someone else. No money for Sophie's fee. At home, Sophie slept, her project notes scattered. Daniel placed the $20 beside her textbook, whispering to the dark, I'm trying, Emily. Across town, in Woodberry's finest hotel, Claire video called her mother, Evelyn Bennett, CEO of Bennett Innovations. He fixed the Synergy prototype with basic tools, Mom, and made it better. He knew the design flaw instantly. Evelyn, intrigued, instructed her assistant to dig into Daniel Carter of Woodberry, focusing on his engineering past and patents. By dawn, she had a dossier. Daniel's work at Lawson Automotive, his stolen hybrid patents, his blackballing after a failed lawsuit, and Emily's death from cancer. Evelyn saw not a washed-up mechanic, but a genius sidelined by betrayal. Exactly what her company needed. At 5:47 a.m., Javier knocked on Daniel's trailer. Dan, a woman's at the park entrance, fancy SUV, asking for you. Daniel, in a faded t-shirt, frowned. What woman? Didn't say, but she's important. Realization hit Claire. He dressed quickly, meeting Evelyn Bennett at the entrance, her tailored suit stark against the rusted park sign. Mr. Carter, I'm Evelyn Bennett. You fixed my daughter's car. Her handshake was firm, her gaze appraising. May we speak privately? I have a proposition. Wary of waking Sophie, Daniel suggested the Rise and Shine Diner. Over coffee, Evelyn laid out her offer. Director of Innovation at Bennett Innovations, a 6-figure salary, relocation to Brighton Heights, and educational support for Sophie. Claire said you improved the Synergy's efficiency. Our engineers have been stuck on that for months. Daniel's bitterness surfaced. I applied to your company. Got rejected. Evelyn nodded. A mistake. You're the engineer who revolutionized Lawson's hybrid systems, only to have your work stolen. Daniel stiffened, memories of Lawson's betrayal raw. My wife got sick during the lawsuit. Cancer. I dropped it to focus on her, but the settlement barely covered treatments. Evelyn's eyes softened. I'm sorry, but I believe you're the person to lead our next-generation hybrid program. Stunned, Daniel questioned her motives. Why me, based on one repair? Evelyn leaned forward. I'm offering this to the man who holds 3 patents Lawson still uses, who saw a flaw we missed with a glance. I build my company by nurturing talent, not stealing it. She slid an offer letter across the table. Take until week's end. And I'd like to show you our facilities today. Her enigmatic smile hinted at something grand. Is there an open field near your trailer? Puzzled, Daniel mentioned the community lot. They drove back, Sophie now awake, confused by a text about a Brighton University scholarship. Dad, who's this? She asked as Evelyn stepped from the SUV. Ms. Bennett, CEO of Bennett Innovations. She's offered me a job, and you a scholarship. Evelyn smiled at Sophie. Your fuel efficiency project impressed Brighton's faculty. Shall we head to the field? Bewildered, they followed, neighbors peering out as a rhythmic thump grew louder. A sleek Bennett Innovations helicopter descended, its logo gleaming. Sophie gasped, clutching Daniel's arm. This is your ride to Brighton Heights, Evelyn announced. A tour of our facilities and the university. The view spectacular. Daniel hesitated, his worn clothes stark against the helicopter's polish, but Sophie's awe swayed him. 10 minutes to change, he said. Inside, Sophie buzzed. Dad, a helicopter. This job, the program, it's incredible. Daniel cautioned. It's a big move, Sophie. New city, new life. Her eyes softened. You've given up everything for me. Maybe it's your turn for a second chance. Her wisdom, so like Emily's, cracked his defenses. They boarded the helicopter, neighbors especially Carl Jensen, who'd rejected Daniel's application gaping. Javier gave a thumbs up. As they soared over Woodberry, the trailers shrinking below, Daniel felt possibilities stir, cautious but alive. Bennett Innovations headquarters gleamed in Brighton Heights, 6 stories of glass and steel. Daniel, in his ill-fitting shirt, felt out of place until he entered the innovation lab, where prototypes and equipment reignited his passion. Junior engineer Liam Patel, awed by Daniel's synergy repair, showed them the pulse system's next generation. Daniel's hands itched to tweak a prototype, spotting flaws instantly. They're prioritizing transition speed over longevity, he told Sophie, who nodded, seeing parallels to her project. The team warmed to his insights, and Evelyn, rejoining them, smiled. Don't apologize for passion, Mr. Carter. It's what we need. At Brighton University, Professor Margaret Lang praised Sophie's project, offering a summer program tour. Sophie's excitement sealed Daniel's decision. We accept, he told Evelyn, the helicopter ride back a vow to embrace this chance. Woodberry buzzed with their return. Javier threw a farewell barbecue, Mrs. Ellison brought pie, and Angela Harper gifted Sophie a framed competition certificate. Carl Jensen, humbled, hinted at supplier deals, but Daniel brushed it off. Ethan Walsh, Sophie's bully, mumbled good luck, a small closure. In Brighton Heights, their new apartment dazzled, its windows framing the city. Daniel began at Bennett, accessing Lawson's stolen patents, now Bennettshire's past reclaimed. Sophie thrived at the university, her project drawing industry interest. Board member Edward Grayson, a former Lawson director who resigned over ethics, backed Daniel's thermal regulation fixes, tying old wounds to new triumphs. Evelyn revealed Grayson's history, cementing Daniel's allyship. Nights on their balcony, Daniel held Emily's ring, whispering, "We're better than okay." Sophie's voice, practicing presentations, anchored him. From a roadside repair to leading innovation, Daniel's genius, once buried, reshaped their future. Woodberry Meadows, a crucible of struggle, faded into Gratitude, a chapter closed, a new one begun, where talent, not circumstance, defined them.